If you like our video, click the button to subscribe to our channel and get easy access to new content. To see our full suite of ad-free video courses, instruction manuals, and quick reference guides, visit us at www.teachucomp.com. You can transform selected content in Photoshop in the same way you can transform layer content, as discussed in the lesson titled How to Use the Move tool in Photoshop to move, transform, align, and distribute layer content from an earlier chapter. When you transform a selected content object in Photoshop, you can scale, resize, skew, warp, rotate, flip, or otherwise adjust its boundaries. However, to apply a transformation to a selected content object, you must first select the object to transform. Depending on the type of content, this may be a shape or path component you select with the Path Selection tool or Direct Selection tool, or it may be a selected path or layer in the Paths panel or Layers panel, among other options. The important thing to note is that you must first select the content object to which to apply the transformations, using whichever selection method is appropriate for that type of content. To then apply a specific, individual transformation to a selected content object, select Edit from the menu bar. Then hover your mouse pointer over the Transform or Transform Object Name command in the drop down menu that appears, where object name is the name of the type of content object selected, like Transform Path, for example. You will then see a side menu of individual transformations for the selected content object appear. To only scale the content object, select the Scale choice. Then click and drag the object's resizing handles to change its size. Alternatively, to only rotate the object, select the Rotate choice. Then click and drag the object's resizing handles to change its rotation. Alternatively, to only horizontally and/or vertically slant the content object, select the Skew choice. Then click and drag the object's resizing handles to change the object's slant. Alternatively, to distort an object, select the Distort choice. Then click and drag its resizing handles to distort the object's shape. Alternatively, to change the perspective of the object, select the Perspective choice. Then click and drag the handles to change the object's height perspective. Alternatively, to warp the selected content object in Photoshop, select the Warp choice. A warp grid of anchor points and lines then appears around the selected content. Then click and drag to move the anchor points and lines as desired. You can also move the direction points for each anchor point, which are the small blue dots at the ends of the direction lines that appear as you move the anchor points and lines, to change the curvatures of the warp. Unfortunately, when using the default warp grid appearance in Photoshop, you cannot see the difference between the anchor points and direction points in the warp, as they all appear as blue dots. If desired, to split the warp transform and show the warp anchor points as white circles or white squares, and the direction points as blue circles, select a Warp Split choice from the side menu of choices. Then click into the warp grid where you want to place your split. You can then click the white circles or white squares to select the anchor points for that part of the warp, and manipulate them as when editing paths, as previously discussed in earlier lessons. To remove a selected warp split, select the Remove Warp Split command from the side menu of choices. Alternatively, to only rotate or flip the content objects in Photoshop, select the desired rotation or flip command from the side menu of choices. The choices include Rotate 180 degrees, Rotate 90 degrees clockwise, Rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise, Flip horizontal, or Flip vertical. To commit a transform after applying it, click the Commit Transform button that appears in the Options bar control panel. Alternatively, to cancel the transform, click the Cancel Transform button in the Options bar control panel. Alternatively, to apply multiple transformations at a time to a selected content object in Photoshop, select Edit from the menu bar and then choose either the Free Transform or Free Transform Object Type command in the menu that appears, where object type is the type of selected object, like Free Transform Path, for example. The Free Transform command in Photoshop lets you perform all the transformations at once instead of applying multiple transformations individually. One reason to do this is when transforming pixel data. When you transform pixel content, pixels are often added, so the content becomes less sharp with each individual transformation. Using the free transform command lets you apply multiple transformations at once to avoid losing sharpness in pixel content that needs to be transformed. If desired, to activate the keyboard shortcut for the free transform command in Photoshop, press the Control or Command key for Macs and the T keys on your keyboard. After activating the free transform command in Photoshop, a bounding box appears around the selected object. To show or hide the reference point for your transformations, which is the given center around which the transformations occur, check or uncheck the Toggle Reference Point checkbox in the Options bar control panel. Doing this shows or hides a small crosshair icon within the bounding box. To change the position of the transform reference point, click one of the small squares in the Reference Point Location button in the Options bar control panel to set the desired reference point, or click and drag the reference point within the bounding box. If desired, to scale the content by changing its width and height, enter new percentages into the W and H fields in the Options bar control panel. To maintain the width to height aspect ratio when scaling, ensure the Maintain Aspect Ratio button between these two fields is toggled to the On position. To set the rotation, enter an angle into the Set Rotation field in the Options bar control panel. To set a horizontal or vertical skew, enter the degrees of slant into the Set Horizontal Skew and or Set Vertical Skew fields in the Options bar control panel. Alternatively, to skew the selected content object with the mouse when in free transform mode, Hover over the side resizing handle for the side by which to skew the content. Then press and hold down the Control or Command key for Macs, plus the Shift keys on your keyboard. The pointer should then turn into a small white triangle icon. Then click and drag the mouse parallel to the side of the transform box you selected to skew the layer content. Then release the mouse button and keyboard keys after applying the desired skew. Alternatively, to scale the selected content object with the mouse when in free transform mode, hover over the resizing handle by which to scale the content. The mouse pointer should appear as a double pointed arrow icon, bisected by a small line when in the correct position. Then click and drag the mouse to proportionally scale the layer content. Alternatively, to temporarily toggle maintaining the aspect ratio on or off when scaling, which changes depending on whether it is enabled in the Options bar control panel, hold down the Shift key when you click and drag to scale the content. After applying the desired scaling, release the mouse button. To flip, scale, or skew the selected content object with the mouse when in free transform mode at once if desired, hover over the resizing handle by which to flip, scale, or skew the content. Then press and hold down the Control key or Command key for Macs, plus the Alt key or Option key for Macs on your keyboard. The mouse pointer appears as a small white triangle icon when held over a resizing handle. Then click and drag the mouse in whichever direction you want to flip, scale, or skew the content object, as if it were a 3D object on the document window. Then release the mouse button and the keyboard keys after applying the desired effect. Like scaling, you can also hold down the Shift key when using this keyboard combination to toggle maintaining the aspect ratio on or off as needed. Remember to click the subscribe button to see more of our videos. See our full suite of courses, instruction manuals, and quick reference guides at www.teachucomp.com.